Welcome back, your resident nerd. My name is... Fuck, you're not the resident nerd.
I was just letting you...
No, I'm the resident nerd.
Do you want me to handle it?
Yeah, take it away, Gino.
Oh, you're keeping that
Yeah,
in? Shit. Well, now it's really awkward.
Read it. We'll cut this part out.
Hi, I'm Gino, and I'm your resident nerd, and you are not our resident nerds. We are all resident nerds together.
You might be smarter than us for all we know, but...
I'm
We're
Gino.
under the assumption. Yeah,
I'm resident weeb.
I'm Nikita, your local comic authority.
And I don't have any fun anecdotes from this past week. I think, I was going to tell you
you know what I have some fun anecdote about? You Snyder Cut fans. Jeez, if any of you are listening to our podcast, hey, thank you for listening to the podcast. One, I appreciate it. But two...
Yeah, for all you new TikTok followers, if you're stringing along with us.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Seriously, our Snyder Cut TikTok has just nonstop been getting comments the last, 2 weeks.
I don't know when we posted it.
About a week and a half.
About a week and a half ago.
Yeah, and
about a week ago.
Some people just have differing opinions. Some people claim we're Marvel fanboys. We probably talk more about DC in our shows. Honestly, we've
in
posted
our
more about
shows
DC.
On our TikTok. We've literally posted way more about DC than we have anything Marvel related. Marvel's cool and everything, but damn.
Yeah,
I'm not even a superhero nerd.
Keynote, if you are a DC fan, that does not mean you have to like everything DC puts out. A good fan can be critical of the poor things that they put out so that they can continue to put out good work. Wrong. You're right.
No.
You have to love the Snyder Cut if you're a DC fan.
I will say, I put it in our notes today we were going to talk about this because if you didn't know, by the time you'll be listening to this episode, we will have dropped a review for the Snyder Cut.
That is true.
So go check that out.
We'll have a 1 minute review for TikTok.
We don't know if it'll be good or bad at this point.
Yeah,
we're
recording this before the Snyder Cut, so you might already know our reactions as you're listening to this episode. And hopefully I had a good time. Otherwise, if I was dreading it, poor Nikita.
That's so metaphysical. They're gonna know about it. They're gonna know about our feelings about it more than we know about it right now. That's crazy to think about.
Yeah, but if you haven't checked out the review, check it out. We're not really going to talk about it in this episode. We thought it should be its own bonus episode because that's huge.
Yes.
It's a 4-hour-long endeavor. So fuck, I don't even know how long the review's going to be.
We're going to be trying to get the review out as quickly as possible. And then as a follow-up, we're also going to be releasing a commentary bonus track that will be released through, I believe, Patreon when we start up our Patreon.
Yeah.
We don't really have more news on that yet, so hold fast for whenever this comes out. But look forward to it. I'm excited for it. It'll be our first commentary movie.
Yeah,
you'll see. It'll be really
fun. Just some news too about Patreon. We'll be setting that up. That'll just be a way for you guys to support the show and get a little bit of bonus content. We'll try to get We'll try to get something out per month at the minimum, like one bonus episode for you.
It's pretty cheap. It's like $1 a month.
Yeah,
so it goes more to just support us in the small thing, so we can start catching up on expenses for upkeeping the podcast and stuff like that. So
exactly.
If you have a chance, we'd appreciate it. If you don't, we'll still be releasing normal episodes, so you won't be missing out on our personalities, but we will be releasing some little extra things. We'll be shouting people out.
That's
all that jazz.
And from there, I think it's good to go into the movie news. We just talked about Snyder Cut.
Yeah, that was the beginning of our movie news. Technically, according to if you would read the script. I just wanted to say one more thing in regards to the TikTok people. Everything's cool, guys. I'd say we're pretty nice guys for the most part. We're not trying to come for anybody's throats. It's just like memes. We just like memes. That's really it.
At the end of the day, we can all agree. I could hate the movie and you could love the movie. That's okay.
The amount of people who called me pretentious in these past 2.5 weeks has been very
so funny,
very hurtful. And I'm fine. I'm all right. I'll recover. But goddamn, I've never seen myself as pretentious. But I asked around some of my friends to be like, do you guys think I'm, when it comes to movies, yeah, Gino, you're a fucking snob. I'm like, okay, well,
that's
GG.
Movies though. In general, interesting comments, I'll say.
I just like art, man. I just like art.
Anyways, what's next, Gino?
Well, I was checking out the news earlier today, and this is on the 16th that we're recording this, by the way, so keep that with a grain of salt. But Sonic the Hedgehog 2 is it began production. It was released by their producers that they have gotten into it now. So
Sonic 2 coming out. I didn't actually know that was greenlit in the first place.
Well, it's currently in production, so I would say so. I would say
which makes sense. The first movie did really well.
Yeah, we get to see Tails. I think Tails is supposed to show up in the next one.
Oh, really? I want to see Knuckles too.
Do you?
He's always been a secret fan favorite.
You want to see the Echidna?
Yeah,
the boxer.
The Echidna, is that what they really?
Yeah,
call
that's what
it?
he is. Knuckles the Echidna.
echidna.
The echidna?
I don't know why.
All right, that's fine.
Let's continue.
Do you know what an echidna looks like? Doesn't look like Knuckles.
Oh god.
That's the only short news we have for that. There's not really anything else coming outside of it besides the fact that it's starting production. Let's go into our next thing.
Yeah. For those of you that don't know, Steven Yeun. Am I pronouncing that right?
I think it's Yeun.
Steven Yeun is to be the first Asian American to be nominated for Best Actor at the Oscars,
for his movie Me Curry, which is about a family, I believe, moving out like in the Midwest, like an Asian American family moving out Midwest and starting their life there. Minari, sorry.
Funny enough, he's been blowing up. He's been in a lot of. He's actually voice acting. So
yes, he's awesome. I've loved Steven since I found him in The Walking Dead.
Well, I was going to say, just to preface some comic things that we'll be talking about today. You've already seen it in the thumbnail and stuff, but I'm going to talk about Invincible, the TV show coming out, and he's the voice actor for Mark, the main character.
Oh, nice. That doesn't surprise me. Well, that's cool.
He's talented, incredibly cool guy. I've loved what I've seen from him now, and I think it's great that he's the first Asian American to be nominated for Best Actor at the Oscars.
I hope he gets it. I have some stuff to talk about the Oscars later that your boy's a little mad.
Really? In your anime segment?
Oh, yeah.
Oh, yeah. I'm very curious.
Because guess what?
What it is. What?
Guess what didn't get nominated? Not a single
that's
fucking
wild, even
anime,
though Demon
bro.
Slayer just fucking
And we're talking about it. This is a year where like there's some really wild picks for stuff getting picked.
Yeah.
And like if you get a chance to like go look up the rest of like the onset for Best Picture and stuff like that, like there's some movies that are on there that I'm not saying they don't deserve to be on there, but I have a belief that they're on there because there's really just not that many movies that have come out this year.
It's also, I mean, for those of you that don't know, when it comes to Oscars, Grammys, any big award show, a lot of it is backdoor stuff that it depends on how much you pay. And I kid you not, this is known. This is a known fact in the Oscar committee that companies will literally pay the specific reviewers more money, give them gear, merchandise, things like that to sway them to vote for them.
No, fuck the Oscar committee. Well. Like, legit.
Yeah,
sorry.
No, it's literally all just pandering, and whichever company can throw the most money after the fact their movie is done. It's part of a movie's budget, too, for those of you that don't know. Is the Oscar nomination process and bribing Oscar officials. Yes. I shit you not.
Yes. But that's our movie news for the most part. I don't think we have that much going on right now. That I can recall. So
really, it's just to sway into the comic book news segment. Big movie news would include a lot of the releases coming out.
And we talked about this on our TikTok, actually.
Yeah, I made a little TikTok video showing you like the movies that are coming out in the next couple of months. It's this spring. This is just the spring season for nerds. Those of you that don't know, there are a lot of cool movies coming out. So first of all, we have what just came out last week, March 16th. March.
The Snyder Cut, you're going to have to reset this segment. It comes out on Thursday.
Comes out on Thursday. I'm dumb. The Snyder Cut comes out on the 18th, March 18th.
So get hyped for Thursday, future people.
There we go. And then I think around the same time, Falcon and the Winter Soldier is coming out. That comes out on Disney+. Snyder Cut is coming out on HBO Max. Yep. March 26th, the week that this is probably being released, which is why I set this all up, Invincible is coming out. And that'll be on Amazon Prime. And so I think a lot of you guys are going to love it. If you like The Boys, a lot of people were a big fan of The Boys because it was something different. It wasn't your usual take on superheroes, and it was actually cool and more modern. That's Invincible to a T.
The Boys slaps.
It slaps. And so I think if you like The Boys, you will love Invincible. And then after the fact, we've got March 31st, Godzilla vs. King Kong, which we'll announce it now. And you may have seen it on our TikTok already, but we have merchandise coming out for Team Kong versus Team Zilla. We've been fighting another group in the company called Video Game Docs. They're all about Team Zilla. They're nerds. If you want to be cool guys like us,
if you want to actually be part of like Monkey Gang, you're gonna want to be with King Kong. And you're like, well, why would I want to be part of Monkey Gang? Banana. Big axe.
So, if you are a Team Zilla fan, whatever, you can buy the shirts for Team Kong or Team Zilla on Redbubble. We'll have the link probably in our Instagram and in our TikTok bio as well. So check it out. Join up and get those shirts before the movie comes out. Represent Team Kong. Let's go, gang. Show Team Zilla that we're out here to show. We're out here to prove that we're...
And if you do, let us know. We'll shout you out on our story. All that jazz.
We'll send us pictures of you guys wearing the shirts if you guys end up getting them.
Seriously. We want to like represent our boys out here.
And this is a huge test run for future merch stuff. So if you guys want more stuff like this, you're going to want to get it. You're going to want to start buying stuff now to show us that this can work.
Yes. It'll also be like limited time. So, you could be like, when we're like super big in the future and shit like that, you get to go back and be like, yeah, man, I got this
first merch.
I got this Your Resident Nerd Monkey Gang. Sure, like that shit's wildin'.
Oh man! But aside from all that, that's a movie. To continue, we've got Mortal Kombat coming out on April 16th. We've got May 7th, Black Widow finally getting a release date. We've been waiting for a whole year, and it's just now coming out. Still only in theaters. That will not be coming out on Disney Plus, unfortunately, because they're stupid. And there's been a lot of controversy because they just released that one. I forget her name, but someone in the Dragon, a new animated movie that they're charging. They're doing the same thing with Mulan. They're charging $30.
I know what movie you're talking about. I always forget the
so I'm okay that it's not coming on Disney Plus because those schemy tactics are a little bullshit to me. But I'm glad it's finally coming out. Then we got Jupiter Legacy coming out on Netflix. This is also like
Jupiter Legacy.
So that was also another like indie comic, similar to Invincible and The Boys. That was another comic that is coming out on, or has already come out, but the show is coming out on Netflix. It's a Netflix adaptation. I won't go too into it because I'll probably make an episode on it. Honestly,
is it going to be live action or?
Yeah, live action, not animated. So I'm interested to see how Netflix does because their live actions have been huge hit or misses. So. We shall see, but that's another one that you'll want to look out for. If you end up liking Invincible from Amazon Prime, you might like this TV show as well.
So important dates, just one more time.
March
2016. Oh, sorry. Those are going to be. I'm sorry. I was putting the ones up that they're going to be running
you guys
into.
So, March 26th.
There you go.
For Invincible. March 31st, Godzilla vs. King Kong. April 16th for Mortal Kombat. May 7th for Black Widow, and May 7th as well for Jupiter Legacy.
One last question before we go off the comic news.
Yeah.
The Black Widow was originally supposed to come out last May, wasn't it?
Yeah.
That is crazy to think it's been a year. It was delayed an entire year like that.
Really did not want to put it on Disney Plus, apparently.
Yeah, that's insane.
Which, whatever, I guess. Money. That's the motivator.
You know the song from ABBA, right?
No.
Money, money, money. Always funny.
I still don't know.
You've never seen Mamma Mia?
I've seen Mamma Mia.
Well, that's
is that really a song in there?
Oh, definitely, it's a song from there. Oh, that's a classic.
I need to brush up on my
It's wonderful.
Mamma Mia. I used to. Oh man.
You never saw Mamma Mia 2?
I did actually. I was forced to watch it.
I actually had to take my aunt and my mom out to see it in New York.
Oh, what a good son.
Yeah, I have a full story about that. We're not going to go into that today, though. Yeah. We're going to drop into some comic lore. Let's go, baby.
Invincible's coming out this week. So I thought I'd get you guys a little bit hip to why Invincible is so huge. For those of you that don't know, this is, hands down, my favorite comic book series. I mean, better than any DC or Marvel comic that's ever come out.
That means it's better than Batman. It's better than Superman. It's better
Iron
than
Man,
Captain America.
Spider-Man.
Motherfucking Watchmen. Motherfucking... Literally. That's it. That's all I got. I don't know any other comics outside of that.
A lot. And so, but to get into that, you kind of need to know a little bit more about the company that created Invincible, and that's Image Comics. And Image Comics has just kind of blown up the last, I would say, decade. They've had some huge comics. They started in the 90s, but they're really now a major competitor against Marvel and DC.
Do you have any big names that I might know?
So some of the founders for Image Comics were actually Rob Liefeld, creator of Deadpool and Cable. Nice. You have Jim Lee, Todd McFarlane, Eric Larson, a couple others. And then you still have some writers currently that I'll go into, but Robert Kirkman, the one that created Invincible and also created The Walking Dead, that famous series. He's a big writer for Image Comics.
Okay. All right,
yeah.
Cool.
So just get into it, like why it's so huge. They're probably the biggest indie / creator-owned comic company out there. So not only are they just not, indie, just meaning they're not part of Marvel and DC. They're not the mainstream, or at least they weren't. I would say they're probably not an indie comic company anymore, but they are still a creator-owned comic company. And it's probably why they've rivaled Marvel and DC and why it's why a lot of writers want to go there. And so you might be confused. You might be thinking, like, what does creator-owned comic company really mean? Well, think about it this way. Say you're a writer working for DC and you're writing the new Superman book, and say you wanted to create a new villain for Superman. If you make that villain for Superman, for the comic, DC gets to keep that villain. They get to decide what happens to that character. So if you drop the Superman book and you become a writer for another book or something like that, and another writer gets signed on, they can decide to kill off that character. They can throw him away. They can change up their origin story. Maybe you love the origin story you set for them. They can retcon that and do whatever they want. So at the end of the day, DC owns that character and they have the final control, not you as the original creator. With Image Comics, it's completely different. Anything you create as a writer is under your own umbrella. So you get to decide as the writer or creator. You get to decide what happens to your characters, the official origin story, whether you want to retcon them. Basically, no other writer is allowed to take your concept and change it up unless they strictly have your permission.
I was gonna say that's kind of like I've really never thought about that as like a culture in the comic book industry, and the fact that like I can't imagine what the original like creators of Batman, for instance, would think about like Batman today.
Yeah.
And of course that one's got like a 40-year or more than 40 years. It's got like an 80-year span. Yeah. But that's crazy to think about. I never knew that there was a difference between those two.
Yeah, because
in regards to that,
you generally do have writers that kind of get a little upset with how their created characters have been twisted or turned by the major comic companies, or just kind of thrown to the side.
Well, because think about like reboots and stuff like that. Imagine like coming up with an origin story is a lot of work. Like
yes. That's not your baby. That's your
not
baby.
Easy. I'm imagining like if I write a poem and someone just takes that poem and is like, I can do whatever I want now. I can change up the first stanza any way that I choose to. That's gotta.
Yep.
I don't know if there have been people in the comic book industry who've like spoken out about their previous character work.
No, they have. I mean, that's why Image Comics was created. Was this group of writers had a disagreement with how their characters were being used or treated or written by other writers. Liefeld kind of being the most vocal about them. Rob Liefeld is kind of a very controversial writer, though. We'll get into that a little bit, but at the end of the day, no one gets to really say anything besides they do still have editors, but the editors more just kind of make suggestions and kind of tell you like, hey, if you don't do this, your book probably won't sell well, and then we have to cancel your comic. So we won't do anything with your character. We won't decide that for you, but at the end of the day, it's your decision. So it's still pressure on the writers because no one else is going to change stuff for them. They make those decisions, and if they don't make the right decisions, their book can get canceled.
The poor editor. Hey, man, you got to remove that typo. Like I'm telling you to make it a lot better. The writer being like, no, it's Y-O-U-R, not U''RE, you dumb fuck. And it's just like, oh, all right, man, whatever, Mr. Insert comic book person here. Damn.
Oh, I'm feeling Jason right now. Jason Douglas, who we interviewed. At first, you like hated the editors, and then he's like, wait. No, they're right.
All right. We're cool with them.
But yeah, so this works out in a lot of cool ways because basically anything a writer creates for Image, it's in its own separate universe. You can combine it with other characters or other writers in their universe, but otherwise, it's like take Spider-Man and Captain America, and I know they were both made from the same people. Say they were written by different writers or created by different writers. Spider-Man would be in his own universe and Captain America would be in his own universe. That would mean Spider-Man could have a cosmic level event and an editor wouldn't have to shut it down because it messes with Captain America's storyline. So they can continue with that, and vice versa with Captain America. And you can still have them meet up together in crossovers if the writers agree to do so. And that's basically what's happening in Image, is you had a bunch of these characters, and some writers really liked Invincible, and they were like, hey, I want my character to be in the Invincible universe. So I think they eventually threw like Spawn in there, who was in his own universe, and other characters, and Savage Dragon. So it's kind of a huge deal. You have any amount of freedom that you want. So no other characters and continuities have to mess with your characters. And so Image was started off in the 90s.
Quick question. Yeah. How exactly does it... I'm sorry, can you go a little bit like more specifically into how that continuity works in regards to like being able to pull in and out characters, if that makes sense? So like if I want to put Spawn in like Invincible... How does it work a little bit more? I'm a little confused.
I mean, essentially, you would just write it that was always the case. So you wouldn't, you wouldn't do any like crazy multiverse shenanigans. You would just say like you would have a little side panel that has Invincible in the TV background or something. Be like, hey, Invincible, a new hero that just came up. Okay. I'm not sure if that's exactly how they've done it, but I just remember Spawn being in the Invincible universe at one point. So it was just a cool little connection. It didn't throw off the story at all, and you didn't have to worry about continuity issues.
The whole point is that you can just pull back whenever you want to, and that Spawn can still do because he does like Universal shit, doesn't he?
Yeah.
I mean, so like Spawn can still be doing his Universal shit while Invincible keeps going down its pathway, essentially.
And that's at the discretion of both writers. You know, they agreed to combine these continuities before ever adding them into one continuity, you know, because sometimes it might not work out, and that character might actually interfere with your stuff and your stories going on. So it's something that the writers get to choose for themselves. And so that's why it was started in the 90s by some of these big name writers, because they were working with Marvel and DC at the time, and they were pretty fed up with how their characters were just kind of being twisted by editors. I mean, some characters were getting killed off, some characters' stories were being changed. I think originally like Cable was supposed to be Sam Guthrie from the future, who was a New Mutant, but instead they made him Scott Summers and Jean Grey's son. So that like was a complete editor change there.
And Nikita talks about this all the time in regards to like how different writers too like get to treat a character and how it can kind of. There's a reason you can prefer some writers over others in regards to who's running either like Spider-Man or Batman or Batman's the one that I primarily know. I know he's had a lot of different writers throughout the years. Yes. Some of them really nail it, and some of them
even Superman recently. Honestly, I would say.
Yeah.
And so they really blew it out of the water because some of their books blew up, like Spawn, Savage Dragon. Mm-hmm. They've got Kick-Ass. Saga was a more recent book.
Oh wait, Kick-Ass is also an Image Comics.
Yeah, Kick-Ass is an Image Comics. Yeah, so the movie, if you like the movie Kick-Ass, guess what? That came from Image Comics. So you probably love Invincible. And they, for a time, they did kind of hit a bit of a lull period.
Yeah.
That was mainly due to some inner turmoil and drama going on. So again, Rob Liefeld is a very controversial writer, and it's because he's kind of sleazy, if I'm being honest. He, in this regard, he was sending a lot of his work and any comic thing that he was working on, he sent it to his art studio as opposed to sending it to like other independent art studios at the time. And so it created a huge controversy because he was basically milking all the profits for all the artwork, as opposed to, Image's main thing being, hey, you can be a new writer and come up and actually work with us in this company.
He was just doing like self-cycling.
Yeah. Which was all the other writers did not agree with, and so they kicked him out, or he resigned, but basically they pushed him to resign. Aside from that, Liefeld is also still just stereotypically just your kind of comic gate nerd person who refuses to kind of let go of the past. He's super into 90s comics, and you see that in a lot of his writing. He very, very rarely writes anymore, but when he does, it's very prevalent, and that's just not the way that comics are anymore. We've evolved past
comics
that.
Do evolve,
and he will shit on new writers and characters. He will aggressively shit on them on Twitter.
That's just
it's
like toxic, man. I was about to say the arts industry does not need that. Yeah, we've already got to deal with like commodification of art. We don't need this whole idea of like
oh yeah, you're writing this character this way, that's shitty, like I could have done 10 times better back in the 90s. Like what?
But like you guys are shit talking on Snyder for making his movie, aren't you guys the toxic ones? Well,
that's more,
it's called critique.
Yeah, we're not saying that Snyder should stop making movies by any means, and we're not saying that like anyone who watches this is stupid. That's just our opinion on it. Rob Liefeld will go out of his way to say you are a terrible writer, you are a bad person kind of deal. Like he did that to Hickman, who's writing some of the best X-Men comics ever, and Liefeld was like, "Oh, this is so lame. This is boring." I'm like, "Really? Bruh. This is the first time X-Men has been revitalized?" Anyways, we're getting off topic, but that's Liefeld is a controversial writer, and he got kicked out of the company.
I was going to say, I think it's definitely on topic because it sounds like he needed to get kicked out of Images. Yeah. Like that's what I'm getting from this conversation.
So they because of a lot of that inner turmoil, some of their books weren't selling well, but they would kind of make a pop or kind of see an eventual pop when it came to one of their newest writers, Robert Kirkman, who started writing The Walking Dead, and that blew up. I mean, we know now, The Walking Dead has 3 TV series out at the moment. Yep. So it's huge.
Definitely he kind of hit the jackpot, I think.
Oh yeah. The TV series you can say have definitely taken a southern turn. Like I do not like the TV series, but the comic itself stayed strong.
Yeah, the whole concept is a cultural icon at this point. Like, you can say whatever you want about the show. I agree personally, but like for its time, for when it was good, and like everybody knows what The Walking Dead is.
It's literally still one of the biggest comics out there, even bigger than most Marvel and DC comics, and that's huge. And that's what kind of put Image back on the map.
You walk into any Barnes and Nobles, you will find The Walking Dead.
Yes,
you will not always find other comics there that I've looked for before, but you will always find The Walking Dead.
Yes, exactly. So Robert Kirkman kind of just this shining star out of nowhere, and then Image Comics wanted to try their hand at the superhero genre again, because they had kind of taken a back seat with Spawn and things like that, and they were like, you know what, Marvel and DC are finally pulling themselves out of the water with the bankruptcy thing that was happening. There's the whole comics crash from the 90s into the early 2000s, and so they thought, 2003, 2004, let's get our hands back into the superhero game, and let's see what we can do. And so they put Kirkman on Invincible, and that's where we begin with what is Invincible. And again, Invincible, my hands down favorite comic book series. And there are a few reasons for that. You see, because Invincible wasn't just a book that shied away from anything. And that was a DC and Marvel issue, is they would do this big character development, or like give Superman a kid or adopt a kid or something like that. And then next arc, they'd get rid of that kid, or they'd set back whatever development they did because they had to maintain the status quo. They were afraid to change it. Robert Kirkman was not afraid to do that.
Well, what I was going to also say to point off of that is it's like, I know DC and Marvel has like a recycling problem.
Yes.
And Kirkman doesn't have to worry about that
yes.
at all.
Like when characters die and they're brought back to life, or maybe someone's just like, oh, I don't like this new Superman, bring back old Superman.
You
and
go
then...
through the same fucking arc 3 or 4 times at Connor Kent.
Yep. Yes. Yes, literally.
Yeah, so.
And so Kirkman had this kind of free range where he didn't have to do that with this book because, you know, it's his own creator-owned book. He can go as far with it as he wants to. Another issue that DC and Marvel had was you had a huge set of characters to work off of. And so you couldn't do this big, crazy event that was like world-changing because you would mess with the stories, continuities of several other writers and characters at the same time. That's another issue Kirkman didn't have to face, is he was creating all these characters, and unless he wanted another character in there from another writer, he can just make his own little world. Like, it's called the Invincible universe because he basically built up an entire universe around Invincible all by himself. And so he could do with the setting, the atmosphere, in whatever direction he wanted to go in.
You know what this reminds me of? This literally reminds me of like the creation of manga and stuff like that.
That's actually a point I was about to bring up. Is it's kind of like manga in this way where you have a linear story that always progresses. It doesn't go backwards, and that was the cool thing about Invincible. The comic always went forward. You start off with Mark Grayson, who's this teenager that's just starting out to be a superhero, and see him grow into this adult who becomes like the head hero of the entire of Earth and essentially the universe. Like you this great story that you see, and it's also cool because they don't shy away from topics either. They talk about they do some pretty gruesome and brutal shots in this comic. It's very like gory at times, so it's not just your child friendly comic. It's actually like I would say an adult / teenage level comic.
That's what I noticed from the trailer that you showed me. Was there was I don't remember what was happening in the context of it, but the blood, his suit getting like fucked up, and the blood striking on the yellow suit is pretty.
They don't shy away from these fights, and that's I will say again, one of my favorite comic book fight scenes in the comic is Invincible when he's facing a being called Conquest. I won't go too into it because that's spoilery, but it's just it is a gruesome fight, and you just see both characters not holding back, and that's the cool thing. You don't. You know, with other characters in DC and Marvel, you have a Superman character who's holding back constantly, or even when he's fighting someone, he's kind of a Boy Scout. Mark isn't that way. He's your regular person trying to tackle being a good hero. And so it's just an overall amazing concept. It's not a story that shies away from this, moving away from the status quo. It's not some quirky superhero story. It is literally like the title on the book actually itself states, because this was Robert Kirkman's goal, the best superhero comic, because it tackles those superhero comic book tropes. They make fourth wall jokes about writers and artists that will redo the same shit. And they, again, tackle that stuff in their own comics, but they will, instead of following the trope, they will tackle and show you what you can do beyond just that trope, evolving and developing after that trope.
So would you say Invincible is like almost a pseudo critique of like modern comic book writing?
For sure. Okay. It's definitely meant to be a pseudo critique and meant to show you, if we stopped following all these dumb rules, where a comic book character can really go and how progression is a good thing. It's something you don't see with Marvel and DC. You're not going to see it because they don't have to deal with retcons, reboots, the status quo, editorial teams and things like that. I'm sure they definitely still had an editorial team, but again, it was at the suggestion of Robert Kirkman.
Yeah. I mean, even manga artists have like editors that they work with, right? Like it's their control of the story and the art direction, but it's not like Robert Kirkman's just kind of going off the walls by himself here.
Exactly. Yeah. So you don't really see kind of the regular comic book trope bullshit that you see in Invincible, and that's nice. It's a linear story that will go forward. And so I think I've talked enough about, why Invincible is kind of huge in the comic book industry and why it was kind of a huge wave of change, I feel like, or realization for a lot of writers. But now let's go into like the story itself and why it's just got such a cool concept to it, because you look at it at first and you think, oh, it's just a Superman ripoff story.
Yeah, that's kind of what I mean, I'm not gonna lie, that was kind of the idea of calling it Invincible is almost scary, right? Because I personally find a lot of value when I'm looking at comics in terms of like, what is the unique power set? So like, for instance, we've talked about this before, I'm really big into like electrokinesis, right? Like any superpower that has to do with like some guy controlling electricity, I'm all about it. Love that shit. I'm not as big about oh, the idea that I can fly normally and like I'm just invincible and I can take whatever shots someone can shoot me down, blah 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 blah. So the idea of invincible almost scares me a little bit from first seeing it, just because he does seem to have that kind of Homelander Superman type vibe going for him. Exactly. But I'm excited to see what I learn here.
Well, so it's kind of like Homelander from The Boys. He's meant to be an evil Superman, a different take, and Mark Grayson is almost kind of you take the concept of Superman or just a character with super strength. It's kind of boring. Yeah, we've seen it so much. I love personally though seeing writers take that concept and try to do something new or different with it than what's been done before. And that's kind of what they do here with Mark Grayson and Invincible. Is he's not a Boy Scout Superman, and he's not an evil Homelander either. He's literally just like at first a teenager who is like, fuck yeah, that's so cool, I'm a superhero, let me do superhero stuff, and then learns and grows into the role. And the super strength and the way he applies it is also just usually pretty unique. And so I'm going to try to avoid spoilers because, the new series is coming out. I know exactly what's going to happen based off the trailer, but I don't know when that's going to happen. Like, there's a key thing. I think it happens in issue 20, I believe. I could be wrong, but somewhere around there for Invincible. Issue 7 to issue 20, one of the two. There's a key change. You will notice where, like, shit really starts hitting the fan. And they're going to do that in the TV series. I just don't know if that's going to be like halfway through the season, the first 2 episodes, the season finale, So I won't spoil too much. I'll just give you Mark Grayson's basic origin and a little bit of where he goes from there.
One quick question before you go into it. Invincible's done in totality?
Yeah, the comic is completely done. They may make a sequel series, but it will not be about Mark Grayson if that's the case. His story is completely done.
Okay, so is Amazon Prime, like, are they trying to cover everything in one season, or are they splitting it up?
Yeah, we don't know how they're going to do it. I could see them, there's like 25 volumes out for Invincible, and I could see them tackling 2 to 3 volumes per season potentially. But I think at minimum to cover everything, they need at the very least 5 seasons.
Okay, cool.
Yeah,
I wasn't sure if everything was going to get tackled in the first season. I was
no.
Okay.
No. Yeah,
Gotcha. So 25 volumes. That is quite a bit, I would say.
Exactly. Just to start, it starts off with our main character, Mark Grayson. And the book doesn't start this way, but where Mark's story starts is that he is the 7-year-old son, at first, to Nolan Grayson, who's originally an alien from the planet Viltrum.
Oh.
And of course, it does follow the same, but you'll see it does change a lot throughout the comics. But Nolan tells Mark, we're Viltrumites. We're these aliens. We're basically Superman-like characters. They had super strength, speed, and flight. Those were their 3 powers, and a healing factor to a degree. And Nolan would go on to tell Mark that Viltrum was this utopia society that would progress far beyond any other alien species out there, and that they would eventually set out on a big peacekeeping mission because their society was perfect, amazing, happy, and they thought, let's try spreading this across the universe. And so they would go on to try to spread their technology, their knowledge, and use their strength to assist these planets that have their own issues. So Nolan would join up with this committee that spearheads the search for other planets, and he would eventually come across Earth.
Damn, wait a second. I just realized how didn't Krypton know about Earth in the original?
Yeah, well, kind of. They didn't know about it. It was really just Superman's father that found Earth.
Got it.
When he was searching for a planet.
Okay, I was like, damn, bro. I was like, I just realized how fucked it is that they had all this advanced technology and never,
Yeah, exactly. But already completely different from Krypton's story. Nolan is essentially a peacekeeping person that wants to help progress Earth. So Nolan lands on Earth, and he falls in love with the planet. He loves its culture. He likes how advanced it is for how young the world is, and even finds the concept of superheroes fascinating because he's like, well, this is kind of what we're trying to do for Viltrum. And so Nolan requests to the committee that Earth join their selection of planets that they want to assist, but the committee was a little hesitant because, the world still had some setbacks, was still facing things like war and things like that. They weren't sure if the planet was too violent. And so Nolan tells them, I'll stay on the planet and I'll watch over and guide it so that eventually it could meet the committee standards. And so he chose to live on Earth. He would eventually meet Mark's mom and even become a superhero known as Omni-Man, a very clear-cut Superman ripoff. And they would eventually have Mark. And so he's explaining all this to Mark, telling him, hey, one day when you hit puberty, you might get these powers. We don't know how human and Viltrumite DNA react, so you might never get these powers. But if you do, you'll be able to kind of do all this Superman-esque thing. And Mark's response, because he's a 7-year-old, is like, whoa, I can fly? That's the only thing he takes away from the story. Because obviously he's a kid who doesn't really understand the full responsibility or weight of everything yet.
Well, and so, you already said that there's this idea of superheroes already on Earth, right? This isn't a world without this concept.
Yeah.
And so, that's really interesting to think about how radically different it would be versus the original Superman idea of like where there's no superheroes.
Yeah, exactly.
You have to fulfill this role that society already has created.
And in this universe too, they have their own like parody version of the Justice League. It doesn't last that long. They do eventually create new characters and stuff, but you'll see every now and then they do funny little parodies. And even with those parodies, they will again take them in new directions where you're like, oh shit, yeah, that's definitely not Batman, but that'd be fucking cool if Batman did that kind of stuff. And so, yeah, they have their own version of the Justice League on this earth. If that gives you any indication, it's like, imagine this kid basically growing up in what DC is now, today. Yeah. And that's the universe setting that they put. But then you have Mark, who starts to grow up. And he turns 17, and he's working at this burger joint. And he's a little upset because, his dad's this crazy superhero. And he was told, yeah, when you hit puberty is probably when you'll get your powers. But he's, again, 17 years old. It's already been 4 years. And he hasn't shown any sign of having superpowers. So he's like, shit, I'm just a regular old human. That is until, he's working his shift at the burger joint and he goes out to take out the trash and he throws it and his powers just kick in out of nowhere and the trash can goes flying into the air and he's like, oh, shit.
And it hits a plane, cool. And 400 people die.
That would have been bad. You know what? I feel like if Robert Kirkman saw where this series would go, he might have actually done that in the first issue. That sounds like a very Robert Kirkman thing to do. But he flips out, and he actually starts testing out his powers throughout the week, and he starts learning, like, he finds out he can fly and things like that. So he makes this little ragtag costume to go out and fight supervillains. That's the first thing he does. He immediately wants to be like this teenage superhero. His father eventually catches him, and he's like, you know what, I think you need a real suit. And so takes him to his friend Archie, who's like this costume designer. And it's funny because Archie goes over a lot of, again, character tropes when it comes to comic book writing and coming up with character designs, and it's only in the first issue that Kirkman starts doing this stuff. And like originally he made a suit for Nolan Omni-Man that was solar based, so it had like a bunch of solar batteries around it as like a funny joke to Superman, and he was just like, I don't know why I came up with that stupid idea, but and so Mark isn't really pleased with a lot of the costumes Archie has, and so he starts thinking like, I have to think on this. And Archie's like, all right, you go home, figure out what you want to make, because Mark wants it to be something iconic.
And he also doesn't want to be like Omni Boy.
Yeah, exactly. That's just too lame.
That would be really cringe.
And I think originally they didn't want anyone to know that Invincible was going to be Omni-Man's son at first. Gotcha, so that's also a thing that happens earlier. But he goes to school. It's the next day, and he sees a kid being bullied, and so he pushes the bully into the locker. And he has super strength, so he busts up the locker pretty bad. And so Mark gets called into the principal's office and is getting this whole lecture. And he's like, Mark, you can't keep getting into the trouble. You're not invincible, And that's where it hits Mark. I know. Imagine getting lectured, and that's where you find out your name. I think that's the.
Gino, you're such a dumb little fuck. Like, be like, oh, dumb little fuck. Yes,
that's my name.
That's what I'll be.
But so after this lecture, he gets that name, Invincible, and that's where we get his famous eye logoed suit for Invincible. And if you haven't seen the suit, look it up. It's actually a pretty sick suit design.
I'd say it's pretty slick. Yeah.
Yeah, it's slick. It's simple, but still in my eyes iconic.
That's what I was about to say. Is I really like the simplified design for it because I feel like I don't know. There's a lot of costumes nowadays that are getting like super over
flashy.
Yeah. And like this one is just kind of. I don't know. It feels like it reminds me of like kind of the Spider-Man design in the fact that it's just chill.
And the two characters compare a lot because Spider-Man tackled.
I was gonna ask about that if they were very similar.
To a degree, he's not as quippy as Spider-Man, obviously, and they're two completely different characters. But when it comes to just like reading up on a teenager taking on the role of superhero, they have those similarities, and it's really cool.
I was gonna say like the journey might be similar. I don't know if that fits.
Yeah. I would say to a degree. And so it's cool because we get to see Mark kind of tackle this superhero journey as a teenager, and so he tackles it with a bit of enjoyment and like some humor. But then as the book progresses, you also get to see him grow past this, and even seeing him again become an adult that becomes the leading superhero after his father, who was the leading superhero before him. So this series really picks up around issue 20. I think they were about to cancel the series. I could be wrong. Maybe it was issue 20 or issue 12. I think it was issue 12. And issue 12 blew up, and they're like, okay, we want you to keep going.
It's one of our TikToks. you know?
Yeah, that's our TikTok account. It blows up and we're like, fuck, okay, now we can
I
keep
think we're
doing
done
this.
with this. We'll get one that gets like 1,000. We'll be like,
yep,
keep going, baby. Let's go.
But yeah, it gets insane. Like, again, after, I want to say, I could be wrong. I don't know what issue it is, but there's an issue where you will read into it. You'll probably see it in the TV series, but things fucking take a turn. And that's when you know this isn't just a regular, cheesy, simple story. At first, it seems like that the first few issues and possibly the first few episodes, but you'll see where it goes. I mean, Mark eventually takes on a lot of things. Like, he learns more secrets about his alien heritage, and that starts to change things up. He meets up with more superheroes and works alongside some of the strongest teams, and even like the government, kind of, again, becoming the head hero. He would join up with alliances in space to kind of save not just the Earth, but the entire universe. So again, it gets crazy. So, again, imagine a teenage Superman, one that reflects your everyday person, though, as opposed to kind of the perfect Boy Scout hero. Not that Superman is perfect, but you know what I mean. He's symbolic as such.
A lot of people struggle to identify with Superman.
Yes,
which I think
exactly.
ironically, a lot of comic book writers try to have this constant struggle of trying to make him relatable.
Yeah. And they've done well. Again, from someone who doesn't actually read Superman, you probably would think he's the perfect Boy Scout. He's really not, but to a degree, he kind of symbolizes that.
Yeah.
Mark doesn't symbolize that. He, again, symbolizes your regular average Joe becoming a superhero and just wanting to do good.
Yeah.
Maybe not knowing how to do good at first, and so he makes a lot of missteps on the way, but eventually gets there. And that's the cool part. You get to see those missteps and see how they actually kind of affect the entire world, because they're not limited. So it's a amazing series. Tackles a lot of brutal topics and things like that, and a lot of comic book tropes in the best way possible. I highly recommend you check it out. Just watch the TV show, because some people don't like comics. Maybe you're not a comic nerd, but you like listening to our podcast because it's interesting. Watch the TV show. If you like the TV show after the first season, check out the book. You will fucking love it. I promise you. You won't regret it. You can find it, I believe, on Comixology, basically Amazon. But I believe the entire series, every volume is there. So definitely check it out. But that's everything that there is to Invincible and his origin story and where he comes from. And so
you just like him because you guys have the same haircut, right?
No, not at all.
No,
He's got black hair. I would say our haircuts are probably very different.
Not hair color.
Well, whatever.
So you wouldn't do like, if we ever went to a con, you wouldn't do a
maybe
Invincible?
I'd want to, but I'd have to shave my facial hair. I like my facial hair.
The poor baby.
But he's one character I would definitely consider.
One more question in regards to the series. I don't know if this counts as spoilery or not, but high death count, just in general.
Oh, extremely high.
Okay.
Extremely high.
Super high.
Yeah, they're not afraid to go into that.
Well, it doesn't. It's Kirkman, so like, you know,
I mean, he wrote
homie's
The
been
Walking
known
Dead.
for killing people off.
Yeah,
you know. It's fine.
Yeah. Also, if you're looking for another Robert Kirkman, maybe you have read Invincible, and so you're just here to tune in. Another series he's working on right now is called Firepower. Also, really freaking cool. Basically, this guy who joins up at this like karate temple, and there's a secret method to generate fire from your fists, and no one's been able to do it. But this one kid finally learns how to do it, and then it becomes a huge clan war thing. He goes on to set up a actual like normal life, but then gets dragged back into it. It's a really fucking cool concept. The book itself is easily becoming one of my favorite books out from this year. So definitely check it out.
You think Kirkman watches like anime and reads manga and stuff?
I definitely do. Yeah, I definitely do.
I'd love to have him on the show and just talk
I
about
feel like
that.
he'd be
It'd be fucking cool as
if
hell.
you pick up the volumes, as the volumes go, or the TPBs, you will see Robert Kirkman's thoughts with the other writers as they're going through it, and it's so cool to see just like his thought process. It's really interesting. But yeah, that's basically everything. Do you have any other questions on it?
I'm just really hyped for it now. I'm extremely excited for
I've
this.
told Gino, I've sent him like links to where he can like read the book and stuff. I honestly though, Gino, I think you might just hold off. Don't read the book yet.
Just watch the show?
Watch the show first. Okay. I want to see a reaction.
Damn, you're making me watch the anime before I read the manga.
Yeah,
Damn.
exactly.
Right.
There we go.
Attack on Titan people be like,
bum, bum, bum.
This
whoa.
week.
I mean, that's how I started too. I watched the anime and then
well,
I was
so
like,
literally, I think my friend Jawan texted me. We're about to go into the anime news, by the way.
Yeah, so a good segue.
My friend Jawan texted me and he's like, I don't know if you guys are keeping up with the manga, but I'm pissed. And I was like,
really?
Damn, Jawan. I was like, no, I'm just
the manga.
I'm just trying to wait, man.
I don't want to spoil anything, but if he's a certain stan, yeah, he will definitely.
Well, yeah, no kid. I'm imagining a lot of people are biting the bullet right now in different ways. I'm a little worried.
I'm very interested to see where. I mean, if you've seen season 4, you kind of know what I mean. But there are two very different ideal/sides going at it right now, and one clearly prevailed. I will say that. But yeah,
you're a Jaegerist, right?
No.
You're not a Jaegerist?
No.
Cringe.
Okay, well, now they know. Yeah, Jaegerist and non-Jaegerist. There you go. You have the two sides. Hopefully we didn't spoil it for you.
Jaeger, baby. Let's go.
All right, Gino.
Let's go into anime news.
Bum, bum, bum.
Bum, bum, bum. There's really not that much. Like I said, I really mostly wanted to talk how pissed off I am because there was no anime nominations for the Oscars this year.
It's very rare, too. And it's crazy because there are some bomb-ass movies that came out over the year.
I know.
Like Lupin the Third.
We had Lupin the Third the first. We had Ride Your Wave, which I don't know if you knew about, but
I've heard of it.
Oh, you have? Do you know what it's about, though?
No.
It's about this girl's boyfriend dies, and she's really sad. But he turns into like this water spirit. He's always kind of there for her, and it's about them like rekindling their love.
That's actually kind of sweet.
I need to watch it still, but I think it'll be cool.
Yeah.
Earwig and the Witch was one that people were thinking about, but looking over it again, I'm not upset about that one as much as I am Demon Slayer the movie, Infinity War, which is literally like doing historically unprecedented things, and the Oscars just said, nah, fuck you.
Fuck historic. Sorry, people
and
in
I'm not
Japan,
even saying
you
it
need
has
to
to
pay us
win.
more.
I'm not even saying it has to win.
But the
I'm
fact
just
that it
saying,
didn't get
like,
nominated.
I'd like it to be nominated. At least give it a shot.
Because what other movie did that this year? What other animated movie at all
I don't-
broke
I don't
records in
fucking know.
theaters during a pandemic?
I don't fucking know, man. It's literally a cultural phenomenon.
Yeah.
But fuck them.
Nah.
Like,
the
no,
Oscars-
instead we have
Period.
the following movies, which some of them you might have heard of. I'll give you my quick thoughts on some of them, and then we'll go on to the next point. We had Shaun the Sheep, Farmageddon, which I love Shaun the Sheep, but no.
No.
Onward, Wolfwalkers. Onward was like a Chinese American film that was released on Netflix, but it was created by like white people primarily.
So.
Yeah.
The Oscars are so fucking whitewashed, man. I can't. Oh, God.
Wolfwalkers looked cool. I didn't really do that much research into it, but the animation style looked really interesting. If you want to look it up real quick just to get your reaction, you can.
Wolfwalker, is that what you said?
Yeah, Wolfwalker. Over the Moon, and then Soul. Soul was the last one, which Soul I think was the one that I was cool with being on there. I think Soul definitely deserves to be on the list.
Yeah, but it's also a Disney movie, so it's like not shocking. They probably paid a shit ton of money. It was a good movie too. I'm not trying to rag on it, but like, of course, I think that's probably gonna be the one that wins because
I would assume so. I mean, like even if all the anime movies that I listed were on there, I haven't seen any of them outside of. No, I haven't seen any of them yet. I need to watch Lupin the Third the first still and Demon Slayer the movie. But I would still guess that Soul would win.
Yeah.
Just because it's kind of been groundbreaking in terms of animation.
Agreed.
Even if the story was kind of
Yeah.
But yeah.
All right, so that's all the news? Or is
yeah,
there any...
I'm just a little pissed. A lot of people are accusing the Oscars of being racist.
Wait, isn't there one more bit?
No, there is. I'm talking about for this segment.
Oh, okay. So.
They're accusing the Oscars of being racist, which...
Also, yeah, the Oscars have had a bad history when it comes to just whitewashing.
Oh yeah, they have. Or
I still can't believe they. Oh God! Oh, the Oscars! How we love them.
I know. Anyways, other big news: the Demon Slayer movie was literally released this morning on the 16th. The date
released?
No, the date was released. The date was released for when it's dropping in the United States and in Canada. I'm assuming probably other places in America, but those two definitely.
Yeah, for sure.
Tickets will drop on April 9th if you want to go to the movie
So
theater.
bad.
They will be in theaters, I believe, for the 23rd of April to the 26th. And then starting on the 26th, you can pre-purchase digital copies, which will actually be released on the 22nd of June.
Okay.
So it'll be coming to streaming services pretty quickly, I would say, once the movie comes
sense.
out. Like in the actual theaters, we'll have
crazy.
access to it.
Anime movies literally only get 4 days in theaters and then they're out.
Well, that's how it always is.
I know.
I don't think they can. I don't think they either can afford to keep it here longer or they don't want to.
Yeah.
Which is, again, I agree with you. I like just keep it here for like 2 weeks. That's what I don't get. You know?
Yeah.
Just 2 weeks. Doesn't have to be longer than that. Just a little bit. Funimation. What are you doing?
4 days.
We gotta normalize it, people. Y'all are letting it slide by the wayside.
Let the man win.
But yeah, that's my big news that we have. I'm excited for it.
Yeah, I mean, I want to see it. So I want to see why it's so fucking acclaimed.
Did you check out the TikTok that I made this morning? How many views it's at? Right now.
Oh no.
Oh no, you might want to check it right now, live on the air. Over here.
Oh, let's see.
Because I kept getting spammed that I was getting comments, and I was like, oh, that's interesting.
Oh my god.
So.
Oh my god. You
check the view count. Check the view count. You're gonna cry, I think.
Let me open view count.
I love this.
12,000. 5,000. Hold on.
Wait, yeah, it was 5,000 like 2 minutes ago.
For those of you that don't know, we literally in the last couple weeks we've had a couple that broke in 10,000, 11,020. Our highest one is the Snyder Cut joke that we made at 20,000. This is around the time Snyder Cut's coming out, and that took about 2 weeks for it to get there, and Gino just fucking gets 12,000 in one go. I'm
3 hours later for me posting it.
Jesus Christ!
I'll announce the
76 comments too.
Yeah, bro.
Oh, I'm so hyped.
Hold on.
I'm so hyped. All right.
So that's our news. That's our anime news for today. For the most part, like I said, it's nothing big. We'll get through it. We've gotten through it pretty quickly.
Yeah. Now
we're gonna go into our lore anime segment.
Bum, bum, bum.
I wish I could do the Naruto theme with just pure vocals, but I don't think I can.
Yeah, neither can I. I am an acapella nerd, but you know, push his glasses. So Gino, why are you playing the Naruto theme in the background?
Because today we're talking about some Naruto lore, baby.
Oh,
believe it.
Naruto lore. Believe it.
I'm gonna cry.
God damn.
Because that's my ninja way.
Oh, Gino.
Someone needs to hire me as a voice actor already. I'm ready to go. I think my
for those of you
career's
that don't
here.
know, Gino was an all-state level actor actually.
I was back in high school. I was bopping it.
He's got some stuff to him. He's got the works. I promise you, hire us, please.
So I wanted to talk about some of the main dojutsu
Yeah.
in Naruto today, which we've kind of mentioned before. I think we had a brief discussion about it in our Shikamaru versus Rock Lee debate in regards to what dojutsu are. I'm going to go over that here in a second. Don't worry if you haven't seen that episode. We're going to get into it. In the recent manga, they made a very big reveal in regards to the god of chakra, which I'm not going to go into here because it's a major spoilers considering it was the last chapter to drop. But with that in mind about like where Boruto is going towards in the future, I think it's important to talk about the dojutsu, so the Sharingan, the Byakugan, and the Rinnegan, and how they're important in Naruto and what they do. So why you see people on TikTok, among other things, using Sharingan contacts and making jokes about Neji and all that jazz.
And if anything, like, not to interrupt you, but that's a big staple from Naruto is the whole eye thing. And that's something if you might not know about Naruto, but you probably have seen like the Sharingan eye.
So one of the things I'm going to try to do later is describe, because this is not a visual podcast. This is an audio one. I'm going to try to describe each of what these eyes and what they look like.
One day will be visual soon, people.
For the Sharingan and the Rinnegan, it's a little wonky. For the Byakugan, it's pretty easy.
Yeah, Byakugan's easy.
But yeah. So today's rundown. Oh, this was the other thing that I this is the other reason I wanted to do this. So I play Dungeons and Dragons, right? You know this about me. One of my campaigns that I'm in with our friends from Harrisonburg, which is where me and Nikita hail from.
Woo! Go Rockingham County.
Our party's essentially split between 6 people. So you've got 3 people who are making like original characters. So like you have a goblin, you have a halfling.
Yeah.
You have this guy who is like a mad sorcerer kind of dealio. Like that's all like fantasy D&D shit.
Yeah.
The other 3 of us are what we call Team Ripoff, where we have literally ripped off
I've heard about these
characters from literally all Japanese anime and video games.
Sure.
So you have one of us is playing off as Frankie from One Piece. Justin is playing from this video game called Yakuza, where he's playing the main character. I believe his name is, I don't know what the actual character's name is. His name is Dazuma. It's a play of words. So like I don't know if the actual guy's name is Dazuma. Not important. Don't worry about it. I'm playing a ripoff of Lupin III, whose name is Reuben the Fourth.
Jesus Christ.
Who's excellent. I love him. He's my little wood elf thief bastard, and he's excellent. But the point is, I ate a gum fruit in this universe called the Vision No fruit, and so I've got like pinpoint fucking accuracy vision, and I was like, what a better thing to talk about than the fucking Sharingan and all the dojutsu and all the bullshit in Naruto that makes these characters OP. So today's rundown, we're going to define a dojutsu, we're going to define what a Kekkei Genkai is.
Oh god.
And then we're going to go into each of these 3 eyes I keep mentioning.
So there are 3
eyes. The big 3. Sharingan, Byakugan, Rinnegan.
Okay.
I'm going to go into how do you get these eyes? I'm going to go into what powers do they give you? And then lastly, we're going to go into some prominent members.
All right, interesting.
So yeah,
I'm excited because I feel like, again, the eyes are a staple, and people want to learn about
they are a staple. I mean, hell, if you look at our fucking our logo, my character drawing literally has the Sharingan.
Yeah,
so
I forgot about that.
we fucks with it, as they say.
Yeah.
So let's start it. Let's go into the Sharingan, right? The Sharingan.
Wait, what's a dojutsu, Gino?
I forgot to define them, didn't I?
You fucking idiot.
I got really excited.
You're fired. Out the door right now. Yeah, that's
you just hear the boom of the fucking. We're not in Discord, so I don't know why I made that joke, but that's okay. It's me leaving the room. Okay, so dojutsu, right? In Naruto, you have ninjutsu, which is just the manipulation of chakra. You use your little hand signals and all that jazz. You can do really freaky things like breathe fire.
Like magic, right?
It is magic. We've been over this before. It's all ninja magic. Dojutsu is a very special version of this. It just has to do with your eyes.
Oh.
Your eyes are like optical in some way. They give you some special bullshit.
Wow.
That's a dojo. So when I say dojutsu,
vision? Oh shit, I was just kidding.
I don't think any of them give you dojutsu. I don't think any of the dojutsu give you laser vision.
That'd be cool.
But so the only reason I say that is there are some dojutsu that we're not going to go over today. I'm only going over the main 3 just for like time concerns. So
so there are more than 3?
There are technically more than 3 that appear in filler movies, stuff like that. Technically, Sasuke kind of has a fucked up dojutsu because he has something called the Sharingan, which is like
both of them combined.
It's a combined, but like I don't want to get into that today just because it's not the norm. So,
okay, so we're just going over the norm.
Yeah, I'll be mentioning the Sharingan when we get to the Rinnegan section, but again, I'm just trying to cover the main 3. I'd love to do another episode one day where we go over like possible outliers because there are possible outliers now that we have especially Boruto into the mix. Now Boruto's added a very key one that's special. But we'll get to that another time.
Okay, so that's what a dojutsu is?
That's what a dojutsu is.
Eye magic.
A Kekkei Genkai is essentially, in the Naruto universe, it is like a specific body-related jutsu. So, like, Nikita can only have he can only have the Snow Kekkei Genkai because he's Russian. He's from a Russian clan. He's the only one who can use that jutsu because he has that bloodline. It is like a natural part of his body. Whereas like I could never learn a Kekkei Genkai because I'm not from that same family clan, bloodline, whatever the fuck you want to call it. So when we talk about the dojutsu that we're going to be talking about today, most of them are Kekkei Genkai. There's a little bit of there's a little bit of change up that happens because technically you can transfer these eyes to other people.
Oh.
But
so you're the only ones that can be born with them, though.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
Okay.
That is why Kekkei Genkai is important today because we're going to be talking a lot about like clans and talking about like, well, fuck, bro, how do you get the Sharingan? Well, you have to be from a certain bloodline in order to be born with it.
Okay.
So that is what a Kekkei Genkai is.
Interesting.
Just so you know, they're important terms that come up in Naruto all the fucking time, especially the Kekkei Genkai. Yeah. They're not all limited to dojutsu. There's ones that go outside of it. I'm trying to think of some of them. They're not coming to mind right now.
Yeah.
But they exist.
Yeah.
So,
okay. Cool.
And they never translate it. I don't know why there's not a translation for Kekkei Genkai because in the dub they just casually throw it out there like you're supposed to know.
Such a confusing word. Oh, they never explain it.
Well, I think they do explain it at some point, but it's just like they just don't translate it. I don't know why, because Kekkei Genkai, I believe, means something specific.
Oh,
I don't know what off the top of my head, but
bloodline power.
Anyways, let's drop into the Sharingan.
The most famous of them all, the red and black.
The red and black. The one that when I was a kid, I was like, oh, I have a Tomoe in my eye, and I don't, and that's fine. It's okay. I kind of do. There's like a fucked up part of my iris that it's like there's like a tiny hole, and I was always like, I've got the green Sharingan. Fuck yeah, baby.
Oh my god.
So a Sharingan, right? Let's describe it. It's red.
Oh, we're going into the description portion.
Yeah. It's red. Well, we're going to the how to get it, and that'll have like the kind of description. But
the
physical description of a Sharingan, it's red. Mm-hmm. Your pupil is kind of dilated.
Yeah.
And then you got these 3 little speck-looking things that I really don't know how to describe the shape of. They look like teardrops, maybe. You could say.
Black little teardrops.
There you go. Those are referred to as Tomoe. So a 3-tonged Tomoe, Sharingan, 2-tonged, 1 Tomoe. That's what a Sharingan looks like.
Okay.
And I was the pupil, it's a little dilated.
Just a little black bit. People dilated.
And mind you, most of the time, people don't have a Sharingan like 24/7. Usually they have to activate it.
Okay.
There's some differences.
Mm-hmm.
We'll get into this. So normally you can just have a black or brown eye.
Yeah.
And all of a sudden it's red, and you're like, oh, damn. Anyways, how do you think you get a Sharingan? You got to be born into it. Do you know? You just explained what a Kekkei Genkai is. The Sharingan is a dojutsu that is primarily associated with the Uchiha clan, which most people know. Sasuke Uchiha, motherfuckers rocking it. Itachi Uchiha rocking the Sharingan.
The robes.
So the Uchiha clan goes all the way back to the Otsutsuki clan with this man named Indra Otsutsuki. And it technically goes a little bit before that, but in terms of like independence, like the first person to manifest a Sharingan purely by itself was Indra, and that was after he got mad at his brother. He was a little upset.
Yeah.
And it activated. And so ever since then, anybody who is his children or descending from his line, which eventually would become the Uchiha clan, could activate and manifest the independent power of the Sharingan. And I say independent because Indra's parent, Hamamura, and his grandmother, Kaguya, had a fuck ton of other abilities that have to do with optical shit, including the Sharingan, technically.
Interesting.
But, like, in terms of just being able to activate the Sharingan by itself as a passive ability, we have Indra.
Okay.
So, as I said, it started off with Kaguya, had access to it because she's a weird alien woman.
Yeah.
Spoiler alert for Naruto.
That's where the magic abilities come from.
That is where all chakra, which is what you fuel ninjutsu with, came from
aliens.
Her. It came from an alien.
Naruto became a sci-fi.
She had some kids who were these weird half alien human hybrids.
Yep.
Hagoromo and Itamura. Hagoromo also had kids. They both had kids, but Hagoromo had kids. Indra and Ashima. I believe it was Ashima.
Yeah.
Anyways, Ashima's not important. We're dropping him from this conversation in total. But Indra has his Uchiha clan that comes down to the line, and so that's great. Everyone can be born with it, but like really, it doesn't answer the question of how manifestation occurs. Yeah. Right? Like, how do you like? Are you just born with your eyes open and they're red? Like, what's the dealio? And this has actually been a little fucked up in Naruto as time has gone on, because in original Naruto they established that it's like very rare for Uchihas to activate their Sharingan. And then that got retconned in Shippuden when they were like, nah, well, actually Uchihas can kind of activate that shit on the fly. Like, usually people end up getting it. The evolved versions of it, not a lot of people, but like Uchihas, nah, man, everyone's got a Sharingan. Fuck it. You could be the most minor character and you're rocking the Sharingan eyes.
Okay.
But how do you manifest it, right?
Yeah.
The special thing about Sharingans and Uchihas in general is that there's a very special emotional component in regards to the eyes being activated. So the way they try to describe it in the anime is that you have a very powerful emotional release. So say I see Nikita gets stabbed on the street. Nikita's my good friend, so I get this emotional response to it, and there's a certain chain reaction of chakra that occurs and activates in the Uchiha's optical nerves.
Okay.
Thus, the Sharingan becomes activated.
Yeah.
So right there, we learn a couple of things. One, it's related to chakra. That's important for how the Sharingan operates.
Yeah.
Second of all, it's very tied to emotion.
Gotcha.
Uchihas are known as the emotional clan. There's this thing known as the curse of hatred in the Uchiha, that the way the Uchiha evolve is that they experience hatred when someone that they love or someone that they know is like hurt in a certain way. Yeah. That they go and essentially activate their Sharingan or activate the stronger versions of it because they have such an emotional response. So, for instance, Sasuke Uchiha activates his Sharingan for the first time at 7 years old because he saw his brother Itachi post Itachi essentially murdering his entire clan. Ooh. And so the amount of like sorrow and hatred and anger that Sasuke felt towards seeing his brother do this was enough to activate his Sharingan in that initial stage.
And why did Itachi murder their entire clan?
That's a
whole another story.
Very packed. It's a very packed question, is what I'll say. People were scared of the Uchihas for the most part, and the Uchihas there was kind of a right reason to be afraid of the Uchihas within the Village of the Leaves, which is where most of Naruto revolves around. Mm-hmm. Essentially, it was like this idea that the Uchihas were really kind of mad because they felt like they were being pushed aside in the society, and so wanted to kind of start a civil war to take control of the Leaf Village. And so Itachi was kind of forced by the higher-ups to take care of them. And by take care of them, like take care of all of them, essentially. And that was how the Uchihas got slaughtered.
Damn. And did that leave did any other Uchiha survive besides Itachi and Sasuke?
No. Not really.
Okay, gotcha.
I mean, like, kind of, but we're gonna from that massacre. No, we're gonna go into some characters who have the Sharingan, and almost all the ones we're gonna be talking about, I mean, are alive post Itachi. So
okay.
we'll get into that here in a second. But I think for the most part that's a pretty well explanation of how you can manifest the Sharingan. Mm-hmm. You can also gain it from other ways. As I said earlier, all the dojutsu can be transferred. Like Naruto makes it very explicit that you can literally just rip someone's eye out and just put it back really quickly.
Yeah.
It happens with there's a really funny scene in Shippuden where somebody gets the Rinnegan, Obito gets the Rinnegan, and everyone's trying to get it because the Rinnegan out of the three of these dojutsus is the most powerful.
Yeah.
And everyone's like, Sakura, like, stab it, destroy the eye. And he's like literally asking her to, and she hesitates, and fucking Madara shows up and steals the eye. In the lab, like, literally just goes like pluck, just takes it out real quick and puts it back in, like literally in 2 seconds. And it's just like they're all just, oh, okay,
good job.
All right, so you can do that. The problem with the Sharingan, though, in this instance, and we see this with some of the characters who have received the Sharingan from it being transplanted, is that it cannot deactivate. So as I said, like Sasuke and Itachi can like turn that shit on and off at will.
Yeah.
Kakashi Hatake, who received his from a transfer, the reason that he's always wearing that mask over his eye is because if he doesn't, the chakra consumption will kill him because it's like on 24/7.
So he has to block it. So it doesn't.
He has to block it. So you can transplant the Sharingan. It is not a good idea though, because it is constantly turned on, and when you turn on a Sharingan, like it's a dojutsu, it's a ninjutsu, so it takes up chakra. It's just constantly taking up chakra, and if you run out of chakra, you die. So it's a good thing, but not a good thing. It's kind of there's a lot of risks there.
Okay.
So there's different levels of the Sharingan. You've got your base Sharingan, which lists, as I said, there's 3 tomoe, which are those tear-shaped items that swirl around the pupil.
Yeah.
When you start off, you only have one. As you get older or work on training it or whatever, they don't really explain how they train the tomoe, but they work on training it as time. You get an additional one, and then you max out at 3. And it just makes it stronger. It allows you the base abilities that you get with the Sharingan just kind of enhance with the more tomoe you have, because it's like maturity.
Yeah.
And so, yeah.
So what are the abilities for the Sharingan?
Oh, well, hold on 1 second. We're gonna
sorry. I didn't
you have that. So you have the base Sharingan. The base Sharingan can be upgraded into something called a Mangekyo Sharingan, which again is seen out of like having another like harrowing or emotional experience. You have to mature up to a 3 tomoe Sharingan.
Yeah.
And then again, I got to see Nikita like get murdered or something in front of me.
Yeah.
Or someone that I love or care about. And so that great emotional trauma will literally evolve my eye. You'll get this cool little pattern. There's a bunch of different ones. If you get a chance to, just look up Mangekyo Sharingan patterns. There's a lot of cool ones online.
Yeah.
And yeah, that's how you get the Mangekyo Sharingan. Next, you have something called the internal Mangekyo Sharingan, which you essentially have a sibling of yours transplant their eyes to you. So you switch eyes, and yeah, that's all the internal.
So you switch eyes or you combine eyes?
No, well, I believe you switch them.
Okay. And that makes it stronger?
It doesn't make it stronger. It takes away the Mangekyo Sharingan has a really bad passive ability that if you overuse the unique abilities that it grants you, you start going blind.
Oh.
And the reason it's called the internal Mangekyo Sharingan is that when you have your siblings' eyes, you don't have to worry about that anymore. Don't know how it works necessarily.
Interesting.
But that is the process in Naruto that they talk about. So when you have that eye swap, you can use whatever powers are associated with it. You don't have to worry about like losing your eyesight essentially.
Yeah.
Let's go into the powers though. We got the base Sharingan. It allows users to a certain extent to see chakra on all levels. Chakra usually is very hard to see naturally. If you see someone's chakra like just emanating off of them, it usually is a sign that they're either using a lot of chakra or that the quality of chakra that they have is like very high tier. Uchihas can see that naturally when they have their Sharingan activated. And furthermore from that, they can see it almost to a cellular level. So Sharingan users who have fully matured can see on a cellular level. Sasuke Uchiha has shown this many times now. They have predictive sight. A common Sharingan user ability / move is like copying people's ninjutsu. So you'll be in the middle of like weaving hand signs, and they will start copying you almost quicker than you're doing it yourself. Kakashi is well known for doing this, for instance. That's why he's known as the copycat ninja.
So it's not like a psychic insight by any means. It's more of just they can just see it and kind of predict what you're about to do next.
They debate about this a lot in Naruto because a lot of people who don't know that much about the Uchiha, since they were all like slaughtered, like just naturally think that they can see slightly into the future, but it's just a misconception of the fact that they can just purely see, like they just see faster, I guess you could quote unquote say.
Okay.
Kind of like Captain America. Captain America, I think, sees faster, if I'm not wrong.
Slightly, yeah.
Yeah. So they kind of have a similar thing going for them. In this, as I said, there's immediate jutsu copying. A lot of cases, I think Kakashi, for the most part, usually ends up popping off like a copy jutsu before the actual original person does. They've done this since Naruto Part 1.
Yeah.
They're very good at genjutsu. Sharingans have a natural genjutsu, which will allow people to be stunned or like actually have full body takeovers. If you don't remember what a genjutsu is, it's essentially like illusion magic. It allows control over someone, or it allows them to see something that is not actually there. It's not the actual reality.
Yeah.
Sharingan users not only have this ability to use genjutsu, but they also have natural protection from genjutsu. So there was in the original Naruto, some people went to go confront Itachi because he had come back to the village. And so one of the people who was confronting him decided to try to use a genjutsu on him. And he was like, yeah, that's not going to work. Like, sorry. It's not how it goes. If you have a base Sharingan, you also have the ability to use two very, very OP moves that are listed in Naruto. One of them is going to be a little bit harder to explain than the other. We'll start with that one.
Gotcha.
The Izanagi, which is known as a reality warping ability, costs you 1 eye to use. In a lot of cases, Uchihas will use it to escape death or rewrite reality in small ways. So they can literally make things like disappear, or they can say that it goes back in time and it'll be like your body was placed in another place that it wasn't before.
Oh.
So the big example of this was Obito, who is a Uchiha.
Yeah.
Was fighting this woman named Konan, who essentially like trapped him in a waterfall of paper bombs. Paper bombs are a common tool.
Yeah.
In Naruto, it's literally a piece of paper that it can explode to a various degree. She trapped him in a waterfall that was full of like over 30 million pieces of paper bomb, which is fucking humongous. Like I wish I could have an equation of TNT, but like we're talking about she filled an entire lake of like small grenades essentially.
Yeah.
And then trapped him in it, and he was going to die, and then he used Izanagi and was able to make his body rematerialize somewhere else.
How extensive is that ability when it comes to just changing reality? Like could you make sure someone else not be born?
I don't think you can go that far back. No.
So there's limited reality.
Yeah, it's more like I think it's more that's why I said they mostly use it to escape death. Like it's not, it's not something you would just use on a normal day and be like, I'm gonna go back and like change time. Like it doesn't work to that far of an extent. It's more of like, fuck, I'm about to get stabbed. I'm gonna make it so this guy stabs himself instead or something like that.
Jesus.
Yeah.
Okay.
Izanami, which is what? So, do you know any of the history of the Izanagi? Question mark. No.
Not really.
The original use of the Izanagi was that the Uchiha clan had this really huge, big civil war within their own faction.
Yeah.
And people were just spamming Izanagi uses despite only having two eyes.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, so you would kill someone using the Izanagi, and then you would just take their eye.
Oh, that's so smart.
Yes.
That's big brain.
But so the Uchihas were just tearing each other apart, and finally, there was a specific Uchiha. It was like, I think it's the only woman Uchiha we know of to have a Mangekyo Sharingan.
Yeah.
She created a jutsu called the Izanami, which also costs you an eye, but it allows you to put an individual in a genjutsu, which essentially erases all 5 senses, puts them in an infinite loop scenario where they'll just be stuck doing the same thing over and over and over again.
Yeah.
Until either, I believe they set it up that you have to learn like the error of your ways, or you can set like a certain thing that they need to realize like naturally a part of their like selves in order to get out of it. And so,
but you can't do that to other Uchiha, right?
Oh no! That's how she ended the civil war. Was she used it against the main guy?
I thought they were immune to genjutsu.
Most genjutsu. The Izanami, like I said, it's very OP. It is the ultimate genjutsu. It's like one of the most OP things in the show.
Yeah.
And they had to use it to stop, again, Itachi used it to stop a main bad guy in Shippuden.
Yeah.
And he literally went from being like a very terrible person to being a good guy because of that genjutsu.
Yeah.
So that's all in your base Sharingan. When it evolves into what we described as Mangekyo Sharingan, you get a few other abilities. A lot of them are unique. to your own persons, and a lot of them we actually don't have. We have some of the main characters ones, but like for instance, Madara is a main character. We don't know what his specific Mangekyo Sharingan ability is.
Yeah.
We people speculate that it has something to do with being able to control the tailed beasts that exist in Naruto. These big progenitors of chakra. They're very terrifying monsters. So like the 9-tailed fox, which lives inside Naruto, he's a tailed beast.
Yeah.
Madara was able to control him quite easily. People assume that maybe it has something to do with Genjutsu, but we don't really know. Some of the other big ones that we have, though, we have Sasuke Uchiha has flame control, as well as using the Amaterasu, which Amaterasu is like the flame that can burn flame itself.
Yeah.
Don't know how that works, but sure, really hot flame that doesn't go out.
Fire versus fire, Gino. Ben 10 said it best.
We have Itachi. I keep wanting to call him Ituchi.
Oh, God.
Itachi Uchiha, who has something called the Tsukuyomi, which is also just a super fucking OP genjutsu, of course. That's one that other people could not get out of. I think Sasuke was able to combat it somewhat, but some people say that's because Itachi let him
out.
Yeah. But the Tsukuyomi like puts someone in a genjutsu where you manipulate all forms of what genjutsu they're taking in. So like he put Kakashi in the Tsukuyomi when they first met, right?
Yeah.
And for every 5 seconds that passed was like 5 hours in Itachi's like the demi-plane that he was caught in, and so like Itachi like tortured him for 3 days straight, and when he got out it would only been like a minute or something like that. So that's Tsukuyomi. Obito and actually Kakashi as well both have their access to the Mangekyo Sharingan, which allows them to go in and out of a pocket dimension essentially.
Yeah.
Obito has a lot more control over this, but usually Kakashi spams it to like put people in the pocket dimension, whereas like Obito literally uses it to dematerialize for a second.
And Kakashi got his eye from Obito, which is why he has that same ability.
Spoiler alert. Sorry if you haven't watched Naruto.
Oh shit. Yeah.
At this point, we're in Boruto, so like just go see it.
Yeah, you've had time.
Yeah, the great part is most people don't know who. If you had no idea about Naruto Shippuden, you still wouldn't know. Who Obito is. Yeah, so that's okay.
There you go. So we're not really spoiling it for you.
That's all right. Thank God this is a non-visual podcast. So prominent members. We've already covered a few.
Yeah.
I covered some Mangekyo Sharingan abilities. Oh, I almost forgot about the Mangekyo Sharingan ability, the Susanoo, which is like a giant set of armor that the Uchihas essentially wear. It's got like old samurai armor. It's made out of like flame. It's got a lot of resistance, so you can't just like break through it. It's pretty OP.
Would you say it's as powerful as a tailed beast?
Yeah. Yes.
Oh shit. Okay. So any Uchiha could or anyone with the
Mangekyo Sharingan could probably take on a tailed beast. Yeah.
Oh shit.
Without a doubt, I would say it depends probably on which one maybe, but yeah.
All right, damn.
Because Madara could solo them all. So, prominent members, Sasuke Uchiha, Itachi Uchiha, Madara Uchiha, Obito Uchiha, and of course, Indra Otsutsuki. Next, we have a couple weird ones. Wanted to go over Danzo. He's someone who essentially he pushed the village towards slaughtering the Uchihas. And then when they were all killed was like, I'm going to take their eyes. And so transplanted a bunch of them, not only in his eye socket, but like up along his arm and on his body. And like,
so he just basically had a bunch of Sharingan.
Yeah. So if you ever see a picture,
having like 10 Sharingans, does that ever boost him?
Or? Oh, I mean, it boosted him. He was able to fight Sasuke for a short time. Fair. Who had I think he had a Mangekyo Sharingan at that point.
Yeah,
I believe he did. Yeah, he was able to fight Sasuke who had a Mangekyo Sharingan, which I think is pretty significant. He like Sasuke barely beat him.
Yeah,
so I would say it powered him up. Being like an old man at the time, I think it was doing pretty well for him. But at the same time, like again, you have to remember it's very like draining to also have that. Like he had to cover himself in like bandages for the most part because he couldn't have those eyes out to the public.
Yeah, that's true.
So we have Kakashi. Of course, he's the classic example of being the rogue Uchiha who's not an Uchiha.
Yeah.
The copycat ninja, really famous for using it. Lost his, unfortunately. He no longer has it, but back when he did, the man's. Yeah. Lastly, we have a character from Boruto, Shin Uchiha, who actually was like an automatron that was made by Orochimaru. Fun fact.
So they really are just going into the sci-fi.
Yeah, no. I mean, Boruto is like a huge sci-fi show. It's actually crazy. It's very weird.
That's weird. Well, I guess it's kind of like Dragon Ball in that respect,
Yes.
where like Dragon Ball started off as just a karate show, and then Dragon Ball Z came along and threw it into sci-fi.
Yeah,
now Dragon Ball
Dragon Ball Z goes all over. People hate on Boruto, man. I'm starting to like it more and more that I get into it.
Yeah.
I'm quite excited. But those are our basic. Let's get into the next one. We got Byakugan. Byakugan's pretty simple to go into.
Yeah.
You were born with the Byakugan. There's no awakening it or anything.
Gotcha.
For some people, if you're like a half Byakugan, so like, say I was part of the Hyuga clan, which is where Byakugan people come from. If I was part of the Hyuga clan and my wife was not, my kid wouldn't be born with the Byakugan, but they would probably mature into it.
Interesting.
Whereas like pure-born Hyugas are like, they're born with like the pale-eyed, blind-looking people that they are.
So they're born with those eyes.
Yes.
Okay, gotcha.
Whereas, like I said, people who would be like half, for instance, they essentially like mature into it.
Yeah.
But they still have it. So like people theorize that Boruto is going to get it one day because his little sister
get,
already
like, pale
has.
eyes.
Not pale eyes, that he just, because it doesn't change, it doesn't fuck up your eyes. Yeah. It just, you can access it.
Oh, dang.
So honestly, it's the better deal, TBH.
Yeah, sounds like it.
Just saying.
You look better, no offense.
So the Hyuga clan, as I've stated, they've also were essentially descendants of Kagura. They are the literal descendants of Itamura, which is Hagoromo's brother. Which is why there's different chakra pools that are going around, why the Hyugas have one set of dojutsu while everyone else has different ones. It's not that important.
They're not from the same bloodline as the Uchiha then.
No.
The Sharingan.
Correctamundo.
Gotcha.
They are not. They are cousin families, I would say.
Gotcha.
If nothing else.
Okay, interesting.
So yeah, that's really it. That's all.
Oh.
It's kind of a base. There's a very specific Byakugan that can happen called the Tenemari, but I don't want to get into that right now. I'll get into it another time.
Okay.
Just because it's its own dojutsu.
Oh, okay.
Yes.
Gotcha.
It has to do with Byakugan, but it's not
basically separate.
Yeah, it was from a movie, so we'll talk about it another time.
I see.
It's fine. We'll get to it later. Let's go over the powers. You get 360-degree vision, which is pretty pog, I would say.
Yeah.
There's only one small point at the back of your fucking neck that you can't see out of. That they gave that explanation in the first Naruto when Naruto fought against Neji.
Okay.
Good fight, by the way. I'd look it up. They can see small amounts of infrared heat, so like it's good for sensory type jutsu, so that like they can spread their vision out to long degrees, like miles out.
Yeah.
And see people running around.
Okay.
Sure. Even greater than that, though, is that they can see chakra to even greater extent than the Uchiha can. So the Uchiha could see like someone has the natural ability with chakra or using chakra readily. Those members of the Hyuga the Hyuga clan, those with the Byakugan, can actually see your streamlined chakra. So like essentially your chakra veins, right, which run along your body, and they use a very specific type of fighting style that essentially allows you to like tap different points in your chakra vein and either add more chakra to that area, which fucks up other parts of your body, or like drain it from that area. So like if I'm going to come at you with like some powered up fist, they tap under your fist and like the chakra's no longer there. It's gone. Yeah. They can spot genjutsu to a certain extent. So like if someone cast a genjutsu on you, Nikita, if I had the Byakugan, I could tell. Okay. But they don't have any natural defense against the genjutsu. Gotcha. So like the Sharingan gives you that. Byakugan's like, oh, I can see it. But, like, if someone uses it on me, I have no defense against that. Yeah. It's prominent members. We've got Kaguya's the really big one, the original. She used it in a lot greater ways than the normal Byakugan members use it, so I almost feel bad putting her on there. The more popular two are Hinata and Neji. They're the two mainstay characters that we get to see use the Byakugan in Naruto and Naruto Shippuden. Yeah. And we have one other person who is Ao, who is not from the Leaf Village. He's not a Hyuga clan member. He actually was able to grab the Byakugan from a dead Hyuga person that he killed.
So can you get their eyes as well through transfer, like through killing?
You can actually, they're better than the Sharingan because you can turn them on and off. Oh. The problem is that the Hyuga clan specifically puts curse marks on their members that when they die, their Byakugans are destroyed. Immediately. Okay, gotcha. So you can't really steal them from people that much because like they will usually die when you're fighting them. Yeah. So Ao
managed to get one that wasn't cursed.
Yes. Yeah.
How did he do that?
From what I was reading online, it was because he fought in one of the earlier. There's like 4 ninja wars that happen in the Naruto universe.
Yeah.
He fought in one of the previous ninja wars before they started doing that.
And so he's an old man then.
He is pretty old. Yeah.
Gotcha. Okay.
So yeah, that's my belief. I believe that's how he got it.
And Hinata, she's the one that marries Naruto. Am I right?
Yes. She actually gives up. She actually gives up her role as like the next leader of the Hyuga clan to do that.
Oh, who takes up the role?
Her little sister.
Oh, okay.
Sister.
That makes sense.
Who's also pretty pog, I would say.
Damn.
That's the Byakugan. It's kind of the lame out of the 3. I'm gonna ask you later, like, real quick, which one you want before we end off today's segment. Well. And then nobody ever says the Byakugan. Who the fuck would want the Byakugan, man? Like, come on.
No, but, I mean, it sounds cool. I don't know. I kind of fuck with it. I think it's cool. But I still prefer the Sharingan, but I wouldn't be upset if I had the Byakugan.
So the Rinnegan is really easy to explain. The Rinnegan is not associated with any clan specifically outside of the Otsutsuki clan, which it has to be the original Otsutsuki clan, which are like the literal alien people.
Yeah.
So like Kaguya had a Rinnegan.
Yeah.
Her son, only Hagoromo out of the 2 of them, ended up inheriting the Rinnegan.
So only one of her sons literally got the Rinnegan, and that was it.
Yeah. He got it. Neither of his sons got it.
Dang.
And we have someone named Nagato who everyone thought had it originally, but turns out actually didn't.
Oh.
Turns out Madara gave it to him as a child.
Oh. So you can create it? Or?
No, you can't create it. Madara had ended up getting his own Rinnegan. So you either be a member of the Otsutsuki clan.
Yeah.
Or you have Hagoromo who got his Rinnegan, right? He's technically part of the Otsutsuki clan. But if you combine the chakra of his 2 sons together in some different way, you can end up getting the Rinnegan that way as well. Because then at that point you have like quote-unquote Hagoromo chakra, right?
Yeah. Mm.
So in Naruto likes to deal with this idea of reincarnation, that Indra and Ashura were like reincarnated throughout history.
Yeah.
So for instance, Madara and that's a really like something just blew my mind a little bit with that. Madara and Hashirama, for instance, both reincarnations.
Gotcha.
Naruto and Sasuke, both reincarnations.
Gotcha.
And so when they have their chakra combined, they can end up getting the Rinnegan. Madara, who is a reincarnation of Indra, was able to combine his cells with Hashirama. Like he literally gave himself Hashirama cells.
Yeah.
Who was a descendant of Ashura.
Yeah.
Awoke his Rinnegan, but it was literally as he was like kind of dying. Like he was an old man.
Yeah.
And so he gave them to Nagato. He had them transplanted in Nagato as a child.
Yeah.
And literally that's the only way that you can get the Rinnegan, is by having it essentially either combining those 2 types of chakra or having it transplanted to you from the original source. I think Hagoromo can also gift it to people, but that one's a little more wonky.
Yeah. Dang. And what does that do? Like
so the Rinnegan gives you master of literally any ninjutsu. It gives you all 5 chakra natures. In Naruto, you have a chakra nature, so you're associated. You can have multiple, but you are limited to like only having 3 usually. So I can have fire, earth, and lightning, for example, right?
Mm.
You can have all 5 of those. You can do any jutsu as long as you know the styling for it. Some Rinnegan users have their own special abilities. So, for instance, Madara has something called the Limbo clones, which are like invisible clones that go out and you can't really do anything against them because they're invisible. Sasuke, for example, could literally teleport, which...
When he had the Rinnegan.
Yeah. Yeah.
What do you mean? Why do you say that? Yeah.
He doesn't really have it anymore. Sad
He
face.
had it at the end of Shippuden, right?
Oh, he did. And he had it for a while on Boruto.
Oh, is this a spoiler?
Oh, yeah.
Did Naruto ever get the Rinnegan?
No, he didn't.
Okay.
He did not.
So
I don't think he has access to Indra chakra.
Oh, that's true. Okay, that makes sense.
Whereas Sasuke had it, and then he just had Naruto give him some of his.
Yeah.
Anyways, the Rinnegan also gives you specific paths that are like they're called paths, but they're specific powers. So Nagato originally used these to like control multiple different bodies, and he would give each one an associated path. So to start, you have the Deva path, which grants the user the ability to manipulate attractive and repulsive forces with objects and people.
Oh.
So almost like essentially like gravity.
Or gravity as well, yeah.
Hagoromo was like so OP back in the day that he literally used the Deva path to create the moon.
Oh.
By putting a force, like a point of force up in space that attracted rocks and shit and made the moon. I wish I was memeing right now, but that's Naruto. That's based. Naruto lore.
Yep.
You have the Asura path, which grants the user the ability to augment their own body to summon mechanized armor and various ballistics and mechanical weaponry. So like I can literally just turn my arm into like a fucking machine gun if I want to.
Yeah.
Which in a world of Naruto where like
they don't exist.
Machinery is kind of limited anyways.
Yeah.
It's pretty fucking insane.
Yeah.
The human path grants the user the ability to read the mind of any target by placing his or her hand on the target's head or chest, and gives them the ability to yank out their literal soul and kill them.
Yeah, expected.
The animal path grants the user the ability of summoning various animals and creatures, which requires no blood sacrifice or even hand seals. The animal path can also summon people, but it does require hand signs.
Gotcha.
They used that when Pain attacked the fucking village. He just dropped a bunch of giant-ass animals on them and fucked them up quite a bit. You've got the Preta path. Grants the ability to absorb any chakra in any form, including most ninjutsu, and it blocks them and absorbs them, essentially.
Okay.
Lastly, you've got the Naraka path. Or not lastly, sorry, second to last. You've got the Naraka path. Grants the user two main abilities, interrogation and restoration by using the King of Hell, which is like this giant kind of statue. A lot of people died when the Pains attacked Naruto's village, and so Nagato's last wish was that he used this to essentially restore all of their lives.
Oh.
So, like, Kakashi almost died and then didn't because he used this mass healing jutsu, essentially.
Okay.
And lastly, we have the outer path, which grants the user the ability to revive the dead, transmit chakra to receivers, as well as manifest chakra chains, which can be used to blind-tailed beasts and keep them down and essentially subjugate them if you need to.
Yeah.
I don't think he uses that one as much.
Yeah.
Lastly, he can anybody who's got the Rinnegan can summon and control the Ghetto statue, which you need to summon a 10 tails and a chakra tree, which the Otsutsuki use to gain mass powers. That's why they have the Rinnegan, is literally to use these statues.
Where do the statues come from?
They summon them.
Okay.
I don't know. I don't think anybody knows where they come from,
gotcha.
But they can summon them.
Yeah.
Some prominent users, we have literally anybody who's from the Otsutsuki clan. As I said, like those alien type beings, they all have the Rinnegan. Nagato Uzumaki was a prominent member. He's known as the third human to have one. And then you have Hagoromo, which was the literal progenitor of chakra in the world. He's the one who's the grandfather of ninjutsu. He's a super powerful godlike figure in all of Naruto. That's our boy. That's who we have.
Yeah, Hagoromo, Jesus Christ.
Yeah, he's very OP.
Big God. And they're tackling that stuff now, the origin and stuff in Boruto.
Yes, they are.
Which sounds like it. Oh my God.
It's very, very exciting.
Very sci-fi-y.
What are you
like it.
What are you pulling here?
I mean, obviously the Rinnegan sounds like the fucking.
Fuck no, man! I want my Sharingan.
Why
still.
would you not take the Rinnegan?
Nah, bro, that shit.
You'd have control over all 5 elements or whatever, and all these paths and all that shit.
Didn't stop Naruto from kicking Nagato's ass.
Yeah, barely dying though in the process.
It's also true. It's bad. It's good if you're Otsutsuki because you're an alien type figure. It's worse if you're like a human. Fucking Nagato summoned the Ghetto statue back in the day, and it almost fucking killed him when he used it to kill a bunch of people. Yeah.
Because the statues don't like humans, guys.
Oh, it's
They're
not that
racist.
it doesn't like humans. They just can't take.
They're
They just
racist.
can't take it. Nagato was a weak boy. Probably should not have had the Rinnegan. TBH.
Oh,
and that's okay.
Nagato
it's not his fault. It's literally not his fault in any sense of the word. But so. But yeah,
Cool.
I think that's all we have for today.
Yeah, I like that. That was a good segment.
Thank you.
Yeah. If you guys want to keep up with any of this stuff or keep up with us, follow and learn more about, all the other comic weeb stuff coming out, again, follow our TikTok at Your Resident Nerd. We post there more than anywhere else. And you get funny little like mini quick content, as opposed to an hour to 2 hour long in-depth episode. You just get quick little bites. We do a little series, we do memes, all that stuff. So follow our TikTok at Your Resident Nerd. Check out our Instagram to keep up to date with the show itself. That's where we'll post news and stuff like that. That's again at Your Resident Nerd. And subscribe to our YouTube so that you can get these full-length episodes. That is where hopefully in the next month or two we will start doing video podcasts with our face and stuff like that, and with actual picture representation when we talk about topics. And you can find that stuff on there. That'll all be on YouTube. And then also our Patreon whenever we get that set up. But yeah, thank you guys so much. The episodes have been killing it. We've been blowing up our follower count and views and stuff have been blown up more, especially with TikTok, which is awesome. But yeah, is there anything else you want to throw out there, Gino?
No, we appreciate all the support that you guys have been giving us. It's been really awesome trying to interact with you guys. I apologize if I sound like a seagull at some points. I haven't eaten today. I think it's
he's a tired old man.
I am a tired old man. It's true. Okay. I'm the guy from The Lighthouse, if you've seen that movie. And not Robert Pattinson. I'm
Robert Pattinson.
Yeah,
I've been told.
If you've seen Nikita's hair, he's definitely repping that type of vibe. You know what I'm saying?
Too,
but yeah, but I appreciate it. Love you guys. Love talking to you guys. Feel free to ask us questions. Seriously, send us in questions. I love talking to people. Feel free to just roast us if you want to.
Yeah. If you have any takes that you disagree or agree with, let us know. Or if you want to learn more about something, maybe you want to know more about an anime or a comic book character's lore, and you don't know how to get into it. Let us know, and we'll talk about it on the episode.
Yeah.
Awesome.
I think that's it. Well, I'm Gino, your resident weeb.
I'm Nikita, your resident comic nerd.
And this is your resident nerd. Thanks for watching.
Bye-bye.